Barry, Pollard, we're just an embarrassment of riches here at this event. We've got so many great members of the Chrome team who I know you've been speaking to around and about the place, but Barry also hails from the Chrome team. He's based in Cork in Ireland, and he does lots of work with performance tooling, and is going to talk to us about something that I confess I knew nothing about until I read about this talk coming up. It's not brand new, is it? I mean, I think in the abstract it talks about things that have been added to this in the last year, so I'm at least a year out of date, but that's about right for me. I don't like to be too close to the bleeding edge. But yeah, the speculation API is something that I knew nothing about. I was having a few interesting chats with people during lunch. I mean, I knew a little bit about prefetching and kind of giving hints to the browser to try and increase performance of navigation, but this is something that was completely new to me. So I'm very excited to learn more about it and hear the things that I didn't know from before and the things that have evolved in the last year as well. So we're ready for the off, I think. Are you ready to give him a big round of applause? You are. You look ready. A big round of applause, please. Barry Pollard.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Are we all awake? Are we having the post-lunch snooze? I will try to keep you a little bit awake and not put you further deep into that coma. My name's Barry Pollard. I work on the Chrome DevRel team. I work on a few things you might have heard of. So I'm deal with the Core Web Vitals initiative. I do a lot of the documentation. You might have seen my smiling face at the top of the LCP documentation and various sorts of things. I also look after the Chrome User Experience Report, or CRUX, so I give out a monthly update on the email about that and try to give some guidance on how things have changed over the last month. I work on Chrome DevTools, and there's a lot of other people from DevTools here, so I hope you'll be speaking to them. If not, grab them this afternoon. Let them know what's working for you, what things you'd like to see improve in DevTools. I also work with the Lighthouse and PageSpeed Insights teams. I now maintain the Web Vitals JS library that Phil Waldron created, and when I get spare time after all that, I look at various other web performance APIs, including the one we're going to talk about today. As well as that, I'm part of the W3C Web Performance Working Group, and I also look after the HTTP Archive and its annual Web Almanac publication. Very pleased to see a few slides showing that. You can find me at TuneTheWeb on most socials. I'm more active on Blue Sky and that sort of thing, but I still keep an eye on other things. So if any of that interests you, come and see me afterwards, or if you've got any questions about those, or feel free to ping me afterwards. Today, I'm going to start talking about this thing, the loading equals lazy attribute. This is one of my favorite additions to the web platform over the last few years because of its simplicity and its ease of use. Just by adding this attribute to your image elements, you can lazy load it. And by that, I presume you all know, that means if they're off screen, they won't load until you actually scroll down and show that. That used to require both a JavaScript library, or you could try and custom code it with an intersection observer, but honestly, it was too much effort. And mangling and hacking around with this so the browser didn't try and load it anyway. You had to change it to a data source instead of a source. It was just really, really messy. Now you can get that just by simply adding an attribute to your image element. And this is now cross-browser available, and you can sit there and say, okay, maybe it doesn't have all the things that we had in the old ways of doing it. You know, you can't customize your viewport, you can't say this, you can say Chrome loads too eagerly, Firefox loads too lazily, whichever way you want to choose, stuff like that. But for most people, this just works. And it's simple, and now most people are using this, and usage of those libraries have just dropped off the cliff. You can also use it in iframes. Again, just said dead simple, and it does like that. Means they're just loaded lazily. And I love this. It's just part of the web platform now, and anyone can use it. You can use it even if you're using a JavaScript framework, or whether you're hand carving HTML out of blocks of bytes. Another similar one is a fetch priority equals high attribute. This allows you to just give a hint to the browser. You can put it on your LCP element and say, this is a high priority, fetch it earlier. And there's huge amount of complexity behind this and how it works and stuff like that. But we've simplified that all down to a simple attribute that you can add to your image element. Pat Meenan, who created this and is running around here somewhere, calls this a cheat code for LCP. And again, it's just a simple attribute of HTML. You can also put it on your link attributes. So if you're preloading your LCP elements because you can't find them because they're hidden away later, you can add it to this. And this, by the way, is a mistake I see quite often. People put fetch priority equals I on the image element, but forget to put it on the preload element. And if the preload element is the first one you see, that's what the browser's using. We've done some work to try and at least bump the priority later whenever the image comes, but please, 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 put it on the link element if that's the first thing that you're using to actually load the element. But either way, little gotchas aside the gap, it's a simple attribute. Moving away from the attributes, in JavaScript, and last year, we added scheduler.yield. That's now available in Chrome and also Firefox. And it's a simple way to improve IMP by just adding one line of code, await scheduler.yield. You can sprinkle this throughout your code, and it gives the browser a little chance to breathe. And during that breathing time, it can address more important things, and that could be rendering a frame or dealing with an input. So it really helps interaction to next paint because it prioritizes interactions or paints, all with a simple line of code. Or, truth be told, slightly more complex line of code because it's not quite baseline widely available yet. So this line of code is a progressive enhancement. You can put it in here. Browsers, Safari, that don't support it will simply ignore it. Browsers that do will yield and give a nicer high IMP score. And these sorts of things I absolutely love because simple to use progressive enhancement built-in APIs are the best. And that's a very important quote from a very important person, which would be me at this conference today at about 14:50-ish. Oh, timing. Harry yesterday talked about the arrogance of quoting yourself, and no one's ever quoted themselves from their own presentation. So, about 12 years ago, a bunch of very smart people published the Extensible Web Manifesto, which is a new paradigm when think about how we should implement web platform features. And the idea was that we can't tell the future, and we're terrible about guessing how web platforms should be used. So they came up with this idea, and I don't like it, which is an interesting thing to say when at least one of the authors I know is in this room. So we'll see. I think one of the most important parts of the platform, of the Web Extensible Manifesto, which basically sums it up, is that the web platform should develop, describe, and test new high-level features in JavaScript and allow web developers to iterate on them before they become standardized. This creates a virtuous cycle between standards and developers. And the virtuous cycle was the emphasis in the Web Extensible Manifesto. And the reason I don't like it is because I think they highlighted the wrong part. I think this bit is more important before they become standardized. The idea of the Extensible Web Manifesto virtuous cycle is we build low-level primitives in the browser, things that have got jagged edges and we're not quite sure how to use. We iterate in user land and JavaScript, decide best practices and patterns emerge as we see how best to use these sorts of things. And then we standardize these into the web platform. And it's this last point that I don't think we do enough. Almost to the point of it's very rare to see it. Those last three examples that I gave are great examples where we've seen it. We've taken a lot of complexity and things that were done in JavaScript, and we've put it down into the platform in three very easy-to-use attributes or APIs. And I know why this is. There's always more work to do. If you can already do it in user land, what's the gain? You're not going to gain anything. You're not adding anything new to the platform. You can already do this. New stuff is cooler as well to work on. Get you better bonuses and that sort of thing. And standardization takes time and effort. So I can understand why we do it, but I'm still a bit annoyed. It's a bit of a shame. Because if we take these three random APIs, have anyone in the room used service workers, web components, IndexedDB? OK, I don't know about you, but I hate service workers. They're just horrible to use. Most people don't even use them. About 33% of service worker usage is through the Workbox API, which my team owns, and we don't do a great job of owning it, by the way. Web components, you can use them. They work. They're kind of this. But most people use them through lit or don't use them at all and just use a library and through that sort of thing. IndexedDB. The best way of using it is IDB, which is a library created by Jake Archibald. And I love this. This is IndexedDB with usability. I mean, that pretty much just says it all. And you can argue also, here's a controversial one, because my teammates aren't going to like this one, Core Web Vitals. I think they're too hard to use. If you don't use it through Web Vitals JS, which library I look after, then there's lots of hard edges that can cut you and stuff like that. And I would love it if it was a lot easier to do that, to just say, give me LCP, give me INP. Why do you have to get event timing and figure those sorts of things out? And the problem with adding little libraries here and there is you end up with this meme. It's very easy to do that. And not just that, like this is Web Vitals. Last 7 days, we got 250,000 downloads. I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty good. You know, we're doing this. Not bad. But when you look back, that's 250,000 downloads for the latest version. 185,000 downloads are still on version 5, so they're not automatically upgrading. Version 4, 4.5 million. So that's a whole load of enhancement, bug fixes, and stuff like that people aren't getting. And it only gets worse as we look further back. Version 2, which didn't even have INP, 1.5 million. Version 0.2 doesn't even have the CLS windowing effect, 1 million. So a lot of people, when they put a library in, they never upgrade it. They don't get any benefits of anything new. Whereas these guys, they're part of the web platform. We aggressively force updates upon you in the browser, to the annoying factor sometimes of this Chrome is updated, please restart and stuff like that. But you automatically get any improvements, any bug fixes and stuff like that. Right, so that rather long-winded introduction is why I'm now going to explain about the main topic here. Link rel prefetch has been around for a while. I'll tempted to ask you, but I'm guessing most of you will get it wrong. This has been around since Chrome 8 in 2010. Firefox has had it even earlier, 2006. And even Safari have had it for the last 5 years behind a flag. And I don't think they're ever going to unflag that. It's really quite irritating. And they led to a lot of things. Prefetching is not new things. Rails, for Ruby on Rails, is prefetched from quite an early days on hover. QuickLink is a library created by Adi Osmani and some of the other Chrome team that, again, allows you to prefetch pages on hover or on click. Instant.page is a tiny little JavaScript snippet. You can add it to your website. Again, just on hover or on click, you get a tiny little imperceptible gain that improves things. And it's not just standard these things. Every single JavaScript framework does this sort of thing. Or maybe not by default, very easy to add, where again, you hover over a link, it will just automatically go and fetch it. But we don't have this in the web platform, or certainly didn't. But now I'll bring it around to the main topic, which is the speculation rules API, a new API from the Chrome team. Limited availability at the minute, but trust me, I'm going to talk about that. I published this blog post whenever we first started making it ready for everyone to use. This was back in 2022, so I can understand Phil having forgot about it, because I'm sure he reads all my blog posts vigorously whenever he did it, but it was 3 years ago. So it's been out there for a while, and we've been slowly improving it over the last 3 years, making it more ready. We added fantastic DevTools support. And over the last year, we've added some more things to take off some of the more rough edges and make it even more usable. And that's what I want to talk about today. For those that haven't seen it, speculation rules allows you to write a rule in JSON. This is the simplest sort of thing. This says prefetch next.html and next2.html. You just take this whole script tag, put it in your HTML. You can also do it from an HTTP header and actually grab some JSON files. That's kind of the basic sort of thing. This one, not that different to link rel prefetch. But where it gets is more powerful things. So you can add a where clause and say, find links on the document that match, in this case, all internal links, all sort of same origin link. And it's clever enough to know that if you put the full URL in front of it and it's still a same site link, then it'll grab that. But you can also write more complex rules. This rule's for WordPress, and you can say, look, fetch all the same site links, but ignore WP admin, because we don't want to prefetch those. Also, don't ignore add to cart URLs or anything that's got decorated with a do not prefetch class. Anything that is a rel no follow, if we don't want bots and search engines to follow, good chance that we don't want to actually speculate it. And you can see you can have href matches, which kind of matches what the URL looks like, or selector matches that kind of matches CSS classes. We also have an eagerness setting, and there's 4 values for this. So immediate is as soon as the page loads. Eager is on hover for about 10 milliseconds, moderate on hover for about 200 milliseconds, and conservative is kind of wait until you're actually clicking those things. Now, these are kept deliberately vague in the spec, so these are Chrome's defaults for these 4 values, and we have changed them a little bit over time. Eager, in particular, we've done a bit of work for that. So now we can have that thing that I was talking about with those libraries built right into the browser. So on hover or on mouse down can simply be added by literally just adding this to your code. So if any of you have a static website or anything like that, I would suggest this is fairly safe to do. If you have a more complex website or an application, we'll talk about it. There's some things. Etsy recently published a blog post, excuse me a second, on their implementation. And they use that hover and the prefetch sort of thing. This is their time to first byte graph, for those that can't read it. The blue is their control, and the orange at the bottom is whenever they've got speculation rules enabled. And you can see here that they got, we'll try and go here, right up until about the nearly 50th percentile, 45th percentile, they got a 0 TTFB. And I can tell you from looking at hundreds of websites for LCP, TTFB is often the main cause of slow LCP. Either that's because actual TTFB, the server slow, or redirects, or other sorts of things. So to get that down to 0 means that they've just bought themselves a whole load of time. You can also see their time to first byte is about 800 milliseconds or something like that. So again, they've saved 800 milliseconds off their LCP that they can get there. You can even fully pre-render a page on hover for an instant page load. And when that's done with this rule, you can see it looks exactly the same as the old rule, except it's just got pre-render instead of prefetch. So it's a very simple declarative API. And when I say pre-render, I mean pre-render, by the way, because there's some JavaScript people out there with their pre-render, which means generate HTML server-side, which is fine and it's good and it's faster than giving JavaScript. But after that, you've got to send it to the browser, you've got to browse parse the HTML, you've got to generate the pixels. Oh, I forgot, you've got to get all the sub-resources and load those, and then the content is shown. Whereas with speculation rules, when you pre-render, you generate the pixels. We do all that in the background. I kind of say it's like kind of right-clicking a tab and opening it in a secret hidden tab, and whenever you click on it, it's done there. Scalemates.com, which Tim Verike says is the world's fastest scale modeling website, they've aggressively put in pre-render, such to the point of they have a 0.5 second LCP. He told me recently it's actually gone further down the gap. It is now 404 milliseconds, which I think is pretty close to LCP not found. And he spent a lot of time optimizing this, but I think in the last year or so, he's kind of really got to those sub-second LCP times purely from speculation rules. I've messed up my slides. That's another one. Yeah, we'll see how this works. So that's easy peasy, isn't it? Right? Well, and I'm going to have to go back here because that slide's in the wrong order. We'll come back here. There are a few provisos, a few quid pro quos. There are some problems. First of all, I saw some hands up earlier about React developers. Speculation rules is meant for document loads, so it's not meant for SPAs. As I say, a lot of the JavaScript drivers have those sort of things built in. They can't get the full pre-render, even if they claim they can, by the way. But yes, you can't use it for that. Where it can help, however, is if you've got a site that's a mix of these. So if you've got a landing page that then loads a big app in the background, you can speculate that. Or if your login page or your checkout page is an embedded SPA, but the page before it isn't, then you can speculate and do that. But within the SPA, that's out of the browser's control, so no, those aren't included in that. There also be some dragons for the pirates in the audience here. There are some risks to speculation rules. On prefetch, pretend you haven't seen this slide before, by the way. Server load can go up more. If you're prefetching 3 pages for every page that you load, suddenly you're loading 4 times as much, 4 times as many pages. CDN costs can go up this way if you're speculating for the same reason. Client costs as well. So as well as costing you yourself stuff, it's kind of rude to just put extra, make your users download extra stuff. Logout links. I suggest you don't prefetch or pre-render those if it's going to log the user out. It kind of confuses them. Similarly with add to cart and buy links, which, by the way, you shouldn't do. Links, get things are supposed to be safe by the HTML spec, but apparently not everyone in the world follows the HTML spec, or sorry, the HTTP spec. Stale content is another risk. So if you fetch something, you update the cart, and now you load that page, and it said you had 3 items, and a minute ago I had 4 items. Or you're sitting there watching news about the Dutch elections, and then you finally click on it, and you find out you've got your 5-minute-old news. Pre-render has all those risks and some more. So the cost to the client is even more so. There's analytics and ads often kick off. I mean, that can happen with prefetch as well, but typically they're done on the on client side whenever the JavaScript's run. Also, anything that alters client-side state can cause problems. Stale content can have even more problems, because anything that you fetch with your JavaScript APIs now, you have more chance of being out of date. So yes, there are some risks. Like, how was I supposed to know there would be consequences to my actions? If you want a real deep dive into some of the risks, Henri Helvetica runs a podcast stream, and the Shopify team, including Yoav and Matoush, hopefully I got that roughly right, thank you, did a real deep dive into their implementation of it. And they discovered lots of issues. Now, they have rolled it out to their entire platform, yeah, they discovered browser bugs. They discovered bugs in their own platform. They discovered weird things that their customers were doing on the Shopify platform that they hadn't realized they'd done before. They spent a lot of time doing it. The good thing is, I'm now fairly confident, touch wood, that we've addressed all the main browser bugs, and so they've done the hard work and got it through for you there. And they also published a blog post with some of the impact of some of the things. And these 3 graphs are in order: time to first byte, first contentful paint, and largest contentful paint. And now they are quite conservative in it. They're still looking at it, but they kind of do that click button action. So they only get 120 to 180 millisecond saving, depending on desktop or mobile. But what I love about these graphs is the consistency of all of them. They're not kind of, some people are getting it slower, some people are getting it faster. Every single person is getting it faster by pretty much the same amount. And to roll something out across the entire Shopify platform and see 120 to 180 milliseconds, it may sound small, but that's huge, because that's on aggregate for the whole of them, the P75. I have a blog post on the guide to implementing speculation rules for more complex sites. It's a fascinating title, but let me tell you, the article is even better. So if you want to know some of these things, have a read of that. Some of the things you can take care of and you can consider whenever you're rolling it out too. OK, if we go back to the risks, we can classify them. Oh, there's where that extra slide was supposed to be. My animation's gone. There's costs, which I'll represent with money bags here. There's analytics and measurement potential issues. There's a few, we've actually broken something. And then there's just stale content, or feels like we've been asleep. If we can talk about through these quite quickly. On the cost mitigations, we have limits in Chrome. So for URLs, we allow quite high limits. I think personally maybe a little too high. But for those hover ones or those click ones, we just keep 2 in memory at the same time. Now you can hover one, a second one, hover a third one. The first one will be dropped out of memory. If you hover that again, the next oldest one will be dropped out of memory. So you can keep rehovering it. But this kind of keeps the memory sort of things, so Chrome already gets accused of being a memory hog. So that kind of keeps it down a little bit. Cross-origin iframes are not pre-rendered. So if you've got a YouTube embed, or a Google Maps embed, or a Google reCAPTCHA embed, or God forbid you're using some other one other than Google, yeah, they won't be re-rendered. And they're quite often quite heavy bits of content. So you click on it. When you click on it, then it will be rendered. So that saves quite a bit of time. We also respect save data, energy saver, low memory. If you open a tab in the background, we won't speculate during any of these times. So often speculating is actually a lot lighter than people think. You load a full page and see in Browser DevTool, you start panicking, but this will cut it down quite a bit. We also honor the HTTP cache. That's both whenever we speculate, we check if there's anything in the cache, and then also whenever we download anything in speculative nature, if it's got the cache control headers, we will shove it in there. So even if you don't go to it now and you hunt around the website and then you eventually go back to that page, you might have saved time anyway. You can also do server-side detection and rejection. I was just speaking to Harry just before this, and he mentioned that they're using speculation tags. So each of your rules, you can put a name on it effectively, and we'll send that back to the server as a speculating. And you could have plug-in ones or whatever, or platform ones, so Shopify ones, and you say, I'm going to allow Shopify want to turn it off, but we're going to allow the other one tags through. Or he was talking about Black Friday, you might have critical ones to speculate or optional ones, and as you see server load going up on Black Friday, maybe you want to drop the optional ones and not speculate, and then if it goes really high, maybe you drop all of the speculations and just deal with real traffic. And prefetch is less risky than pre-render, so you can start with that one. Measurement mitigations. So most run providers already account for this. We are reaching out to analytics providers and also ad providers. This, by the way, on the right here is a list. Google Analytics, Google Publisher Tag, Prebid, which is most of the ads run through. They all support speculation rules. They will hold back any sort of beaconing or loading of ads until you actually go on the page. And if any of you work for another third-party provider and you want to get on this list, we are keeping that, and we've got links from our docs. I'd love to hear from you and add it in. Or, if you're worried about this, prefetch is less risky than pre-render. On the side effects, you can exclude URLs with the where clause. So you can say prefetch everything except that logout clause, that logout URL. Or you can flip it around and move to an inclusion or sort of opt-in model. And Shopify did this. They started off with the excluding, and then they found more and more URLs that they didn't realize. So they said, fine, we're just going to only speculate /products. We know those are safe to speculate. Everything else doesn't get it now. And you can build that up over time. You can also detect speculations. You can do that server-side with a set purpose header or that tags header that I talked about. Or client-side, there's various JavaScript APIs, so you can sit there and say, don't load this if you're in pre-rendering mode, hold it back until the actual page is clicked. And prefetch, if you have not heard, is less risky than pre-render, so you can start with that. For stale content, in the last year we launched clear site data, so you can have send this header, so with either prefetch cache or pre-render cache. So you can send this, if you have an API call saying add to basket, you can, on the response to that, you can say, yep, I've added to basket. By the way, clear all your speculations. They're out of date. They're gone. Respeculate if you want, but anything you've got in memory at the minute, get rid of. There's also a pre-rendering change event. So as the page is activated, you can, I don't know, update the basket, do whatever you need to do, and say, hey, let's check that everything we've got is up to date. And prefetch is less risky than pre-render. Now, you might have noticed me once or twice or 4 times saying prefetch is less risky than pre-render. I don't know if that slipped by you there. But you've basically got 2 options. Prefetch is low risk, kind of low reward, to be honest. Pre-render, high risk, high reward. So you've got to choose between those 2 sorts of things. It would be nice if there was a middle ground somewhere between these 2 options. And do you know whose fault it is that pre-render is so risky? Anyone? Anyone? Hey! Oh, JavaScript. The cause of and solution to so many of life's problems. Or, if Tim hadn't stolen my meme, old man shakes his fist at JavaScript. We've introduced a new, we're introducing a new option called pre-render until script. You'll never guess what it does because it's quite an obscure name. But what it does, it'll prefetch the document. It'll start to render. It'll pause rendering when the scripts are encountered. So scripts are not executed at all, but the preload scanner will carry on and actually find all the other sub-resources. This means if you have a page with no JavaScript on it, then congratulations, I believe you're one of 3 on the internet. It will pre-render in total. If you have a page with all your scripts in the footer, it will pre-render pretty much in total, and you'll get the full content. Or if you're like most sites and you jam your head full of JavaScript, it will stop there. It will stop pretty early, but you'll still at least get the rest of the resources loaded. And then when you click on it, the page is pretty much ready to go and at least ready to execute the JavaScript. And to use it, it's completely different than the other options, by the way. You just add this extra pre-render until script option in there. This is available in Origin trials starting in January. So you can flip a flag in Chrome and actually test it out and have a play with it. January, we're looking to do an Origin trial where you can add a bit of code to your website and say, enable this for my users, even if it's not enabled by default in Chrome. And then we're hoping to ship shortly after that, assuming that that goes successfully. Next thing, hover. Great for desktop. How many of you hover on your mobile? Not so much a thing on that, is it? So we have introduced mobile viewport heuristics. Now, I'm not going to go through these, but basically, as you're scrolling up and down, we will sit there and try to guess if you stop scrolling and the link is so big and it's within close time of the center of the screen or wherever you flip from, then we're going to say, hey, they're probably going to click on this link. So it's kind of the hover equivalent for mobile. This has shipped already in Chrome 1.3.8, and I think I have a video here. So this is the web almanac that I look after, and as I'm scrolling up, it will start to pre-render these links and drop out the old ones and continue to add new ones as you go through it. This doesn't work in DevTools, by the way, unless you've got an Android phone plugged in. So if you're trying to replicate this, make sure you do the remote debugging. So that gives you kind of the hover moderate sort of functionality. Going back to Tim's site, he's enabled this, and he used to get about 180 milliseconds time. Oh, sorry. We'll not use that fancy thing. On the first third of the graph there, he got about 180 milliseconds on mobile. So even though he had hover, it didn't really do anything because there is no hover. So as soon as you click on it, he got that. And that's kind of similar to what Shopify saw. But since this went live in Chrome, he's suddenly seeing up to a second now, which is more than enough time to pre-render his entire website quickly. We're also changing the viewport heuristics for eager. So it'll be basically the same thing, but just more eager. So it will go for any anchor in the viewport. The moderate one looks for links of a certain size, so we don't pre-render terms and condition links and stuff like that. People are unlikely to go for. We also only wait 100 milliseconds rather than 500 milliseconds. That number, by the way, is not set in stone. We're still doing some experiments and do that. But that's shipping in Chrome 1.4.3. Though after we shipped it, I say we might still tweak that 100 milliseconds time. So yeah, you have these different eagerness levels. You can go for it immediately if you know what the next page is going to be. So if you're on a learning course and you're in step 3, I think there's a pretty good chance they're going to go to step 4. If you're on a media website or a news website and 50% of your users click the first headline article, maybe you want to pre-render that. Eager is, yeah, if you're pretty confident and you've got light load, if you've got everything edge cached and it's you think fairly light load, you might do that. Other techniques that I've seen is prefetching on eager and then pre-rendering on the moderate whenever people actually start interacting with the link. Or if you want to be really careful, or certainly at the beginning, maybe go conservative, which is on mouse down, or touch down is equivalent on mobile. And we have these different speculation types: prefetch, pre-render until script coming out next year, and pre-render, which give you a low, medium, or high risk, reward, and cost. So that's pretty much speculation rules API. Back to this limited availability problem, because I know what you're probably all thinking. Oh, great, another Chrome-only API. We prefer to call them Chrome first, by the way, not Chrome-only. I want to introduce this young gentleman. This, by the way, is Yoav Weiss. He's the one with the long face, by the way. He works at Shopify, and they were so impressed with the improvements that they did that they wanted this in Safari, because that's a lot of their traffic that they get on mobile. So rather than doing the normal thing, which you and I would do, moan about it, wait for it to come up, maybe, at worst case, raise a bug and ask them to put it in it, he just got bored and just went and implemented the whole thing. He spoke to the Safari team, he did an awful lot of work, and he got it merged into Safari. If you launch Safari Tech Preview now and go into the developer tools, big shout out to Yoav, and I would love to see more people doing this. Now, Yoav is very special. He used to work on the Chrome team. He's been committing to WebKit and Chrome for a long time. So we're not all Yoav, but this is fantastic. So I was going to ask for a round of applause, but you already beat me to it. Now, I want to be clear. There's still an awful lot of work to be done. It's behind the flag. There's more things at the minute. It's only conservative prefetch and that sort of thing. But this is very exciting to actually see it. Mozilla are also working on it. So here's the bug to follow. They tell me they're going to start working on it this quarter or certainly into the next quarter and stuff like that. So yeah, by perf now 2026, we might have this across all browsers. It is, potentially, we'll get this in interop 2026. That'll be exciting. Lastly, who's using speculation rules? All these people. And there is a madness to the ordering here. WordPress and Shopify have both gone with that conservative stuff for now. We're trying to persuade them. WordPress are considering moving to that moderate thing, as are Shopify. But they have rolled it across their entire platform. And we'll see the impact, particularly of WordPress in a minute. The middle row are going more for that sort of moderate hover thing. So Google Search uses it quite a bit. What they do is they eagerly prefetch the first 2 blue links, and then for the remaining 8 blue links, they'll wait for you to hover over it, because most people click on one of those first 2. Akamai, they don't roll it out by thing, but they've made it very easy. Made it a one-click install, and there's a good documentation on how to do it. Etsy, as I say, have rolled it out in their search pages, and they're looking to roll it out more and more. SpeedKit, who are here today, have rolled out to a lot of clients. They've rolled out pre-render. So this bottom row is the pre-render people. Ray-Ban have rolled out to pre-render. They've got a big media-rich website. It takes quite a while to load, to be honest. But as you hover over it, it's pre-rendering in the background, making it seem quicker. And Dowda have rolled out to all their people pre-render on everyone on the Dowda platform. So you can see this, and these are Chrome usage graphs. So on the left is actual navigation, so it's kind of heavily weighted to the busy sites, the Google searches, the Facebooks of the world. So we're seeing about 12% of page loads in the whole of Chrome are using speculation rules. On the right is more sort of origin weighted, so this is all sort of treats all the sites evenly. That big jump is when WordPress turned it on. So WordPress is about 30–40% of the web, depending how you measure it. So again, we're seeing now about 12% of websites are using speculation rules. So my ask for you, my takeaway action is look in speculation rules for your site. There's lots of resources in this. I'll share the slides at the end and that sort of thing, or come and speak to myself or any of the people here that have implemented it. Because there's 2 ways to make your website faster. One is make it faster. 2 is cheat and just start it earlier. And the second is an awful lot easier. And then finally, just to bring it back, I like these sorts of things. Let's bring things more into the web platform with low-level and high-level APIs. And that's not because I hate JavaScript libraries or something. I want them to go away and play with it and play with the next things. But I think we've got to take those learnings, bring it back, make their bundle sizes lighter, and then just experiment with the next thing and build upon these APIs. And that's all I've got to say, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. Would you like to? Do you want to take a seat? Can we chat for a moment? Is that all right? Fabulous. Okay, I'm learning a lot as we go, and I apologize for being so far behind the curve, but it's an exciting time. The first question I have is, so we've got prefetch and pre-render. I wondered if one of them was more risky than the other?
Well, I think I covered that quite well, so yes, pre-render, definitely.
Good stuff. And also a quick follow-up in a similar vein. Sometimes we have frustration with WebKit sometimes falling behind a little bit. It seems like there's a solution. Can we just is there a way that we can just get Yoav to implement all of the gaps?
I think that's the fastest way to do it. On a serious point, though, there is other people like Igalia who will gladly implement things if you pay them.
Yeah.
Now, it is still Safari that owns it, so if you want to implement something they don't agree with, then it won't happen.
Right.
So I think not only credit to Yoav for doing the actual coding, but also to speaking to the WebKit people and getting there and doing that. But yeah, that is an option. You don't have to do it yourself, but if you want to do it, you can hire someone to do it, and there's a couple of people there. And if not, just poke Yoav in the break, and he'll do it for you.
It's a very sensible question to an incredibly glib, very sensible answer to an incredibly glib question. A more sensible question. So Aziz sent in a question. He's asking about speculation rules and how well do they work for iframes and loading things in iframes as well?
So no, at the moment we don't load third-party iframes. You will load first-party iframes. So if it's your site iframing itself for some weird reason, that'll load. But third-party we don't. And That's partly for the, as I say, the cost of doing it, partly for the privacy reasons. People haven't actually clicked on this link. It's okay to kind of prefetch within the same origin. When you start to get to other things, it gets a bit dicey.
It gets a bit dicey, yeah. And I mean, I also had a question about. I mean, you covered. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, one other thing is there is. I only covered sort of the basics here. There is some other things where if you have. Oh God, I've got to remember now. Different origin, same site. So you are blog.example.com and you want to load widget.example.com. There is ways of, you have to set certain headers and stuff like that to say, this one is, I do want to pre-render. So we're experimenting with that. Okay,
I see, I got you. Okay, also, I mean, you mentioned setting headers there, and in fact, I think you've answered the majority of the question I had here, like with that already. But I'm still going to dig in a little bit because, you know, I was really my first thought about this was, well, can analytics tools and servers understand about this and exclude that? And I think you covered that, mentioned how they can. Is that also the case for? So if we're building something ourselves on the server, and we can look for I think it was the presec header, was that the right header?
Sec purpose header, yeah.
Okay, we could look for that header. Is that also honored on, if you were doing a pre-render, all of the dependencies of that as well? So
no, I don't think so, no. It's certainly on the HTML document, but no, I don't think it's on the resource. I need to double check that.
Okay, so there's a potential that something, we might have some things that we still would need to handle or care about.
Yeah, I'll need to double check that.
Okay, all right, well, there we go, curveball. Also, you know, you mentioned about how long, caching the responses here. And I think you mentioned like the eagerness dictates how many items will live in the cache.
No, not so much there. It's more how early we will get it. So we will prefetch or pre-render or whatever, and we'll use the HTTP cache. So if you want to prefetch a page, it will first check, have I got that page already? Oh, right. I do, great. Don't need to make a network request. Yeah. Or, oh no, I don't, and I need to get it. Or if you're pre-rendering, I get it and all its sub-resources. Then we'll say, oh, well, it will honor cache control headers and say, this is cacheable. Bung it in the cache in case anyone else needs it later. Okay. So we get a lot of people saying, oh, well, you know, I covered this link. I'm buying shoes. I hover shoe 1, don't go there. Hover shoe 2. Yeah. And then click shoe 2. Is shoe 1 pre-render completely wasted? Often not, because it's got the same JavaScript, it's got the same logo, it's got a lot of the same content and stuff like that, so that'll be used. Okay,
but do we have to worry about how long we keep things around in the cache, you know, and how long, you know, someone speculatively or not actually going and navigating something, could that prime the cache with something that would be stale again, by the time we get to
we will obey the cache control header. So typically this is usually more of a problem for the document, the HTML document itself. But if you have an API call and it's not cacheable, we won't put it in the cache, and it's basically 0. It will be used for that pre-render. Yeah. Again, the easiest way of thinking about it is you right-click and open it in a new tab. Yeah. So similarly to the HTML document, so link rel prefetch only works through the HTTP cache. Yeah. So if it's not cacheable and you prefetch it, you've just wasted your time. Right. Where speculation rules will say, okay, I'm going to open this hidden tab and I'm going to use it even though it's not cacheable. Yeah. For prefetch, we only keep it 5 minutes. For pre-render, we keep it forever. So again, it's kind of, think about it as that. If you right-click and open it, when you go to it, it doesn't go, hey, it's out of date. It's just stale content, and it's the same with speculation rules. I get you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I've got a question from Mike here as well about the exclude URLs. So yeah, the exclude URLs using the where that you talked about from speculation. Is that the URL on which the speculation happens, or the URL for the speculator to exclude from prefetch? Oh goodness me! I think I get the question.
Do you do?
Yeah. So
can you reframe it so that I do as well?
If you're the calling page, you would say the rule is speculate everything, but not log out. So the calling page has the rule in it, and it defines what links on its own page, if you're using the where clause, it's going to allow to speculate and what is not going to allow. So there's a not phrase, so it's kind of a Boolean algorithm. Okay. Mike, was that correct? Is that the question you wanted? Is Mike in the room? Yeah, I see loads of people nodding. Yeah. Okay, it answered the question correctly. Phew! Okay, great. Thank you very much. I think maybe my last question also is, can we use this as a way of teaching a lesson to or flushing out people who honor a GET request for dangerous things?
Because, I mean, that's an incredibly glib question. I'm not really being genuine.
Well, no, but honestly,
that strikes me as being something that's a little bit risky.
It is. We discovered it was WordPress, actually. Name and shame up here.
Zing. Okay.
Their e-commerce platform, WooCommerce, had, and they did some strange things. They were like, add to basket was a GET request, but they had a rel no follow, so search engines at least didn't get it.
Right.
Or they added a random URL param, and if it didn't match the cookie, it didn't get it, or something.
Okay.
It was something weird like that, and we were just like, what? Why? So we've actually, some of the other team at Google who used to work with WordPress submitted patches to fix that stupid thing. So yeah, we've already seen some things.
I guess
it's glib question, but yeah, we've already fixed something.
It's happening as well, and I guess it's a lesson for us all to make sure that we think about what are the HTTP verbs that we're using and how we're making use of them.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, I'm kind of glib assuming that everyone knows the HTTP spec back to front, but links
GET should be safe.
Yeah, GET should be safe, and links should be safe because crawlers are out there, they exist, and AI bots maybe aren't coded as well and stuff like that. So, yeah, please, 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 if you're going to change something, make it a post, make it a button, make it something else. Don't make it a link.
Fantastic. Barry, thank you so much for the talk and for the time chatting. Another big round of applause, I think, please, for Barry Pollard.
Thank you very much.
Barry.
Cheers.
Thank you.